Welcome to Part 2, FCPS Protocols for Administering the Kindergarten WAPT Access Placement Test, presented by the Office of Language Acquisition in Title I, Instructional Services Department, Fairfax County Public Schools. You may revisit this presentation at any time. This course includes audio files and narration. Confirm that the sound on your computer is turned on. This presentation will advance slides automatically. The following slides contain important information regarding procedures you should follow prior to testing. All FCPS elementary ESOL teachers and test administrators must complete the two-part training and quiz in order to administer the kindergarten WAPT. If you have not already viewed Part 1, Administering the WAPT Access Placement Test, Webinar 3, WAPT Test Administration Kindergarten, please go back and view the webinar before watching this presentation. This training, Part 2, FCPS Protocols for Administering the Kindergarten WAPT, includes important information pertaining to any teacher who is administering the kindergarten WAPT in Fairfax County Public Schools. After completing Parts 1 and 2, you must take the Kindergarten WAPT Training Certification Quiz in order to receive credit for this training. The quiz is located under Kindergarten WAPT Testing Resources, found in the Elementary ESOL Teacher Resources site on Blackboard, under the Assessment button. This year, there will no longer be an optional KWAPT summer testing window. All kindergarten testing must be done in the fall. The fall kindergarten WAPT testing window opens on September 6th and runs through September 23rd. Please note, all testing and data entry must take place no later than September 23rd, when the testing window closes. Pre-populated NCLB letters will be available for you to print on September 28th, and the NCLB letters are due to parents by October 5th. All test administrators must submit a signed non-disclosure agreement to their school test coordinator prior to handling any of the test materials. Non-disclosure agreements are due to your SDC prior to the opening of the testing window and are kept on file at the school. The non-disclosure agreement is an attachment to the testing memo. You can also find a link to the form on the Elementary ESOL Teacher Resources site on Blackboard under the Assessment button. Work with your school's Student Information Assistant to create a list of language minority kindergarten students in SIS. Instructions on how to create a list can be found in the Steps to Create a List of Language Minority Kindergarten Students in SIS document, which is an attachment to the testing memo, and can also be found in the Elementary ESOL Teacher Resources site on Blackboard under the Assessment button. In addition to creating this list, check the Home Language Survey in all kindergarten students' cumulative folders to confirm that all language minority kindergarten students have been correctly identified, and that you have an accurate list of kindergarten students to be tested. If a language other than or in addition to English is indicated for questions 1, 2, or 3 on the Home Language Survey, the student is designated language minority, and that language must be reflected in SIS as the student's home language. Please work with your SIA to correct any errors in SIS and rerun the list of students being assessed if necessary. Follow the instructions in the FCPS Guidelines for Administering and Scoring the Kindergarten WAPT if you need to add a student to your list. Please do not forget to give each kindergarten teacher a copy of the finalized list so they know which students will be given the kindergarten WAPT. Please refer to the FCPS Guidelines for Administering and Scoring the Kindergarten WAPT for detailed information and instructions for students in the following categories. If a student is repeating kindergarten, if a student's grade placement changes, if a student enters your school after the first day of school. Students who are repeating kindergarten and took the 2016 WAPT Access for ELS do not need to be tested with the kindergarten WAPT. Their English language proficiency level will be based on the 2016 WAPT Access for ELS score. Once you have finalized your list, send a kindergarten WAPT parent notification letter to the parents or guardians of each student who will be assessed. If a parent has designated a correspondence language of Arabic, Chinese, Farsi, Korean, Spanish, Urdu, or Vietnamese, a translated copy of the parent notification letter should be sent along with the English letter. A link to the letters and translations can be found on the Elementary ESOL Teacher Resources site on Blackboard under the Assessment button. Store all testing materials in a secure location at all times, and do not leave any of the test materials unattended. Only staff who have signed a non-disclosure agreement can handle test materials. Please remember, test materials and test items are not to be shared with parents or with schools outside of FCPS. Only information available on the summary score sheet can be shared with parents or guardians if it is requested. It is important for test administrators to secure the consumable test materials, for example, the listening and speaking scoring sheet, as they contain the answer keys for the test. The following slides contain important information regarding procedures you should follow during testing. Preparing an appropriate testing environment will facilitate smooth test administration. Students should be tested one-on-one in a quiet room or space. Post a Do Not Disturb sign on the front door. You do not need to cover any print on the walls or any classroom materials. Make sure students can see the test materials when they lie flat on the table, and it is helpful to sit at a right angle to the student rather than across from them. You will need sharpened pencils and erasers for use during the writing test. Test kits containing the testing materials will be sent to school test coordinators prior to the start of the testing window. The test kits contain consumable and non-consumable materials. Included in the kit this year, schools will receive a quick reference guide for test administration, test scoring guidelines for each part of the test, a scoring sheet for listening and speaking, a scoring sheet for reading and writing, a kindergarten WAPT summary score sheet, and one copy of the writing picture cue booklet. Please follow the instructions in the FCPS guidelines for administering and scoring the kindergarten WAPT when making copies of the master set of materials. Remember, you only need to make copies of the writing picture cue booklet for the students who scored a 27 or higher on the listening and speaking portions of the test. The listening and speaking test will be given to all language minority kindergarten students. Local procedures require the administration of the reading and writing test for students who score 27 or higher on the listening and speaking tests. English learners will be reassessed during the 2017 WIDA Access for All's testing window. The following slides contain important information regarding procedures you should follow after testing has been completed. Test administrators will enter the raw scores for each student into the Kindergarten WAPT data entry website. All students' test scores should be entered by September 23rd. Once scores have been entered, the website will assign an English language proficiency level for each student. Please refer to the FCPS Kindergarten WAPT data entry website quick reference guide for detailed instructions. You will note that FCPS uses its own Kindergarten WAPT summary score sheet. Schools have the option of generating the summary score sheet from the FCPS Kindergarten WAPT data entry website. Student demographics, raw scores, ELP level, and ESOL status will be populated for each student. Schools also have the option to transfer raw test scores by hand for each student using the master copy included in the testing kit. If you are completing the form by hand, fill in the demographic information at the top and record the raw scores for each test that was administered. You will need to use the information from the FCPS Kindergarten WAPT data entry website to complete the placement information for those students. File the original summary score sheet in the student's cumulative folder. Do not store any individual student test materials in the student's cumulative folder or ESOL instructional folder. The listening and speaking, reading and writing scoring sheets must be kept in a separate secure file for 3 consecutive school years. At the end of this time frame, the test materials may be shredded. Send the required NCLB parent notification letter to notify parents or guardians of their students' eligibility or ineligibility for ESOL services by October 5th. Please send a translated copy to parents who have indicated a correspondence language of Arabic, Chinese, Farsi, Korean, Spanish, Urdu, or Vietnamese, along with the English letter. An optional letter for students at ELP Level 10 is also available. Specific information about the NCLB letter can be found in the testing memo. Instructions for generating the letters can also be found in the FCPS guidelines for administering and scoring the kindergarten WAPT. You may also print pre-populated NCLB letters by clicking on the NCLB button located in the FCPS Kindergarten WAPT data entry website. Or you may find a link to the translated copies of the letters on the Elementary ESOL Teacher Resources site on Blackboard. Please note that pre-populated NCLB letters will be available to download on September 28th. Once all testing has been completed, work with your school test coordinator to collect and return all test materials by September 30th. Return all test kits and unused materials, including unused scoring sheets and extra writing picture cue booklets, by pony to the ESOL Assessment Center at the Dunn-Loring Center for Parent Services, Room 209. Resources are available in the testing memo attachments and the Elementary ESOL Teacher Resources site on Blackboard. If you have additional questions, you can email esolposting@fcps.edu. Please include your school name in the subject line when emailing. Thank you for completing Part 1 and Part 2 of the Kindergarten WAPT training. You can now complete the 3-question Kindergarten WAPT training certification quiz located in the Elementary ESOL Teacher Resources site on Blackboard in order to receive credit in MyPLT.